It's the Have a Heart Wish-a-thon for the Make-A-Wish Foundation with KAIT and the Jonesboro Radio Group. It's my favorite day of the year besides Christmas. Let's just put it out there. Y'all know I love Christmas, but Make-A-Wish is right there. And as you know, you look outside today, it looks like Christmas out there. We've got a ton of snow, but unfortunately, that snow and the COVID pandemic has made it impossible for us to do our roadblocks like we typically do during the Have a Heart Wish-a-thon, which is, and I've said this many times, about 90% of the donations we receive during Have a Heart Wish-a-thon are in person, handfuls of change, wadded up dollar bills into those buckets in communities far and wide outside of Jonesboro, Paragould, Pocahontas, Brooklyn, Bono, Bay, Truman, Walnut Ridge, Mark Tree, Hoxie, all over Northeast Arkansas. So you're thinking, well, how can I donate to my community? Well, I'm glad you asked, because you can do that by going to wishathon.org, and we'll give you a link. You could just scroll down, find your town, and donate to that roadblock, because our roadblock captains are very, very competitive, and they're very passionate about raising money to grant wishes for Wish Kids. Someone else who is very passionate about Wish Kids is my friend Cliff Carter, who joins me now from Marmaduke. Marmaduke is really representing Make-A-Wish today. You've already heard from Kendra Street, and there is a connection between Kendra and Cliff. But right now, I want to introduce you to Cliff. I came to know Cliff as a Wish sponsor. And so, Cliff, I think we've identified that was 2011. So let's start with that process. How did you come to know about Make-A-Wish, and how did that whole process start?
Well, Christy, I was standing in our local co-op, and my phone rang, and it was from the Monsanto Chemical Company, a company that we do a lot of business with. And they asked me if I wanted to enter a contest. And at first I thought it was a scam, but come to find out it wasn't. But they asked me if I wanted to enter a contest to donate $2,500 to a charity of our choosing. And Kendra and the kids have been raising money for Make-A-Wish, and I had to come up with something really quick. So the first thing that popped into my mind was Make-A-Wish. So I told them Make-A-Wish and never really, had another thought about it that I might win this thing. Well, the next thing I know, they're calling me and telling me that I've won, and they got me one of those big checks like you guys present at the end of the Have a Heart. And I thought, man, this is really cool. So I took that check up to the school and gave it to Kendra. And you should have seen her when she left school. She had this big check stuck in the back of her car. But that's how I became involved. And then you reached out to me, and as when I found out that I was going to get to sponsor a Wish. And I'll never forget that. You asked me if I wanted to be in attendance, and I had no idea. I didn't know what it was entailed, or what my role of that was to be. And you told me, you said, I'll never forget these words. You said, I think you should. And to you, my friend, I am eternally grateful. I know I have thanked you for that many times, but I just want to thank you again, because it forever changed my life.
Well, you've impacted mine in more ways than you'll ever know. I'm so glad that we were connected in that way. So talk about that first Wish reveal as a sponsor.
Well, as a sponsor, that first Wish reveal, you were there, and I can't even remember the child's name, and I'm ashamed of that. But what I remember, Christy, is I was overwhelmed, and we've talked about the power of a wish. We talk about that, but all I could see and all I could think of was the reaction to this, and not just the Wish child, the happiness that was exploding from them, and the family, the tears that were coming down the father and the mother's face, the happiness that this Wish brought this child, and not just the child, but the family. And I'll never forget that. And from that moment on, I knew this was something that I had to get more involved in.
It was a great day. It was at University Heights Elementary School.
Right.
That's where we were. And her name was Cadence. And it was beautiful. It was beautiful. And when you watch just as a spectator, and there are times that I've gotten to just be a spectator as I've watched fellow volunteers grant wishes. And sometimes I like to just watch because when you get so involved into the process of it, you just forget how magical it really is. And sometimes it's neat to just kind of be on the outskirts and watch reactions, like you said. So I'm so glad. That's why we always encourage when sponsors they'll say, "Well, just send me a picture," and I'm like, "Oh, we really you're really going to miss out on something magical by just getting a picture." And being as a sponsor, you can be as involved as you really want to be. We have some sponsors who go out and do the shopping with us. They decorate. They want to get the cake. They want to be really involved. Some just want to kind of hold back and watch. And then after that first time, I always say, one time, that's all it takes.
Yeah.
Experience one wish and your life will be forever changed. And so I'm so glad that you got to experience that and get to see our littlest wish granters in the schools be a part of that. So after that moment, tell me about, do you remember the ride home that day?
Oh yeah. It was, I turned the radio off. Okay. There was just silence and I could just hear God speaking to me that, hey, you need to do this. This is a calling. And so I answered. I went to inquire, and how do we get to be a wish volunteer? How do we get to grant wishes? And I became a wish volunteer. And we've talked about the power of a wish. And I became a wish volunteer, and I went on to we granted my first wish as a wish volunteer. I'll never forget, was a little boy named Alex. And he wanted to go to Legoland. And I'll never forget that. I'll forever have that embraced in my mind. But it wasn't until I met a young man in Stuttgart, Arkansas, that I realized that there was something more powerful than a wish. And that was the power of a wish kid. It came along in my life at a time when I truly needed this. I found through my life that in order to get through the storms of my life, that I have to help others get through theirs. And this was a time that I had lost my twin brother. And I know I wasn't going to cry, but I'm sorry.
It's okay.
But our greatest blessings, Christy, are found when God's calling us to do something and we don't want to do it, but we do it anyway.
Always forward.
And I kept thinking, God, I can't do this. I can't give this kid the wish that he deserves. And I would look at that grid. We talked about that grid. I would look at that wish grid that has our kids' names on it. And there were 40 to 50 other names. And all I could see was Price H, Stuttgart, Arkansas. I made up a zillion excuses about how not to go. And I finally conned Kendra into going with me. And I told her, I said, it's only about an hour and a half away. By the time we get to Waldenburg, she's like a kid. Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Just chill out. I'll get you a milkshake on the way back. Okay. Just chill out. So we get there, and Christy, this young man touched my life like no one ever had. He came to me in a time when I desperately needed him. And it was perspective that changed me. I could see his father. And as a father, our job, it's just embedded in us to fix things when things go wrong. I mean, it's kind of like when the light switch light goes out, Jeff's going to fix it. When one of your kids were hurt, Jeff was trying to fix it. I mean, that's how we operate. That's how we're built. And I could see the hurt in his daddy's eyes, that there's just some things you can't fix. And we began to talk, and I could see my own son. I was thinking, at any time, this could be me. I mean, this was a normal family. That his dad was a airline pilot. His mom was a nurse, and he's a 14-year-old boy that loved to hunt, fish, play football, play baseball. But he was we talk about this a lot. Our wish kids are so unselfish, and he was an old soul. And when I talked to him about his fight with cancer, I'll never forget what this young man said to me. Never in a million years will I forget. He looked me dead in the eyes, and I said, Price, how are you getting through this? And he said, Mr. Cliff, he said, God's got this. Either way, I'll be okay. And I've heard a lot of profound speakers speak in my life, but none of them touched me like that wish kid. That's the day that I felt the power of a wish kid. And
you'll never ever forget those moments. And I know you've had so many incredible wish experiences. Let's talk about Morgan.
Oh,
Uh, and let me
how
preface.
long you got? I mean, we have all day, Christy. We're going to talk about Morgan, okay? Oh my goodness, it's the same thing. And Morgan had this appeal that everyone that knew her were just drawn to her, drawn to her. And we first met Morgan. Kendra and I pulled into a little town called Huntington, Tennessee. And we didn't actually know the address was kind of not taking us where we were supposed to go. And we pulled into this convenience store, and there was a police officer that pulled into town. And on the back of his window had a big blue ribbon and said Team Morgan. And I told Kendra, I said, this is going to be special. So how we found Morgan's house was we followed the purple ribbons up to Morgan's house.
Wow.
And when we first met her, this was a kid that was an all-state softball player as a sophomore in high school. And she was actually pitching on the mound and in a game, and was hurting so bad that she had to be taken out of the game. And the next day she was in Vanderbilt Hospital getting chemo for cancer. And everything had been taken away from her. And when we first met her, she wasn't that happy child that we came to know and we came to love. I mean, it had really taken a toll on her. It was early in her diagnosis when we first met her, but we left, and on the way, and we met her, and you met Jeff. You know, he's 6'3", looks like Grizzly Adams, and I could see that same hurt on him as I saw on Brian Price's dad. I could see I just can't fix this, man. He hugged me, and we talked, and as a father myself, I could feel his hurt. I could feel his pain. And Morgan was so passionate about softball, and that had been taken away. So she replaced that passion with doing nothing but serving Jesus and helping others the rest of her young life.
She did. She did.
And I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. I'm telling you, we shed a lot of tears with Make-A-Wish, and the majority of them are happy tears. We are so joyful, and they give us such fresh perspective as adults. We think, oh, I've got a headache, I've had a bad day, or my back hurts, or whatever, and then we look at these children who are seriously struggling every day just to survive their life, and so it gives you perspective as an adult to quit your whining, suck it up. Little children are hurting, and I can do something about it, even if it's just for a week long. It's a moment at a party. It's a moment. Anything that we can do to lessen their stress, to bring back some joy, to give them something to look forward to be part of their family in a time that they desperately need warriors around them. That is, I think, the reason volunteering is so important to me, and I know to you. And if you don't get emotional like you do and I do, I mean, not everybody is open to sharing that hurt that we feel when a child is hurting and suffering. It's like, how do it's just the human being in you is like, I remember when I first started volunteering, I was like, I only want to fundraise because I will be no good to these families. I'm a ball bag. I will just nope. And I remember getting the call from Patricia Brown with Make-A-Wish, and she said, we've got a child in Paragould. And I was like, nope, I'm not doing that. I told you I wasn't going to do that. I'll raise money for you all day long, but I'm not doing that. I'm not going to do it. And she's like, well, if not you, then who? And like you, so I kind of borrowed that from her when I said, I really think you should. The smallest little nudge, and as soon as you lay eyes on a child and you just immediate, like there's this connection. It's like, boop, okay, you're my kid now. You're my wish kid. Once a wish kid, always a wish kid. Kendra, 20, was 18. Now she's a mom, a wife, a mother, a teacher. She's still, to me, she's still 18 years old. She hates that when I say that. I still treat her like she's 18. But these kids, they stay with us forever. And they don't just impact you and me. They impact complete communities and across the nation, as we saw with 60 Minutes that we talked with Kendra about earlier today. I know you've had some amazing relationships built with Make-A-Wish. What is it that keeps you going back to it even though it hurts sometimes so badly, why do you keep going back?
That's Christy. That's ironic. Well, it's just a God thing that you said that. I have a note here. I was so close to Morgan, and I would text her every day, and I knew God was using her really, really fast and in a special way. She reached out to me. She said, Cliff, Uncle Cliff, she said, they're wanting me to speak at a Relay for Life event. She said, I can't speak. I said, yes, you can, Morgan. She said, will you help me write a speech? I said, I will, Morgan, but you're not going to need it. And I'll never forget it. She came down here. You were a judge for her beauty pageant. I mean, her little bald head. She tucked that wig off. It was hot, and she was the cutest thing ever. But I got the opportunity to speak at her at her funeral. Some miracles happen on earth and some miracles happen in heaven. Right. And I got acquainted with her cousin, and she asked me this same question that you tell me, and I'm going to read this message to you. She said, I want to tell you something that I admire about you. You keep going, you keep showing up when pain presents itself. We live in a society that has a hard time finishing things when they start. As soon as they feel a small bit of discomfort, they quit. My question to you is this: what makes you get up when your heart hurts? Why do you keep showing up? I know God will never waste pain, but what makes you keep going? And my answer to that is to the what is it's when these wish dads become my best friend. It's when Brad Gray tells me, Cliff, I knew that my family needed this wish, but I didn't know that it was going to give me my kid back. It's William the Warrior. When we ask him what his wish is, and he's been fighting cancer and battling for the second time, and his wish was to simply feel better. Mm-hmm. My what is when a little girl, we pull up in her yard with a camper, and her mother says, I've watched her fight, I've watched her battle, I've watched her just try to live everyday life, but for a moment, even if just for a moment, I got to see my child be a little girl again. It's my what is when my wish kid Morgan calls me and says, Uncle Cliff, will you pray for me today that I can just simply take a drink of water? It's when she asks me, Uncle Cliff, is there another child not going to get a wish because I'm getting mine? Because if they are, you give them mine. My what is when a 14-year-old boy looks me in the eye and says, God's got this. Either way, I'll be okay. And my why to that is it's not because of Make-A-Wish that I have the opportunity to change lives, but it's because of Make-A-Wish that wish kids like Morgan and Price have changed mine. And as long as I have breath in my lungs, I will forever share their story, and I will forever make a wish. I promise you that.
Well, I'm so grateful that we met. I'm so grateful to have you as a teammate and a fellow volunteer and a friend. And, a lot of people don't know this, but Cliff sends me a devotion every single day. And I was like, when I see people struggling, I'm like, you need to be on Cliff's list because God is using him. God is using these volunteers. Every donation that's made today is going to make wonderful things happen for children who are in desperate need of a good time. They're in desperate need of the eternal snow day. Just think about it. If you have the power, everybody listening, if you're watching this online, if you're listening, you have the power to make a wish come true today, despite the snow, despite COVID, despite the fact that we can't do roadblocks. You can still give. You can call 933-8800. You can visit wishathon.org to donate. If you typically give to a specific roadblock location and you're passionate about that and you want to make sure that money goes to your community, you can do that too. Wishathon.org. You can scroll down on the page, find your town, click that link. We've got our roadblock captains who are typically out in frigid temperatures, bundled up. They are actually at Embassy Suites right now, manning the phones. So they are still encouraging, they're making phone calls, they're calling all their friends and community members to give. Wishes can't wait, y'all. We can't put it off. Everyone called and said, are y'all going to cancel? Heck no, we're not going to cancel. We're never going to cancel this. We've never done it. This is 23 years. I never dreamed that in 1999, when we started this, we would still be here today. And look at us. Millions of dollars raised for kids with critical illnesses who live right here in Northeast Arkansas. National media coverage with small communities who come together. We in Northeast Arkansas, not just Jonesboro Radio Group, not just KAIT, not just the handful of volunteers, every community member of this Northeast Arkansas area steps in, shows up, shows out. And today we definitely need you to show out. So Cliff, tell them to call. Tell them.
Y'all call. Hey, Christy, can we do one thing that's probably a little different that you haven't done in an interview? Can I pray with you today?
You can. Yes, you can.
Lord, I love you, and I thank you for all that you do. I thank you for Christy and what she means to me, and I pray, Lord, that you will continue to give her strength as she thrives and shows up, Lord. Even when it hurts, just help her, give her strength to keep showing up. I pray for this day and what it means to us, the ministry of Make-A-Wish. I pray for the lives that it's touching. Lord, I just thank you for that. I thank you for what you're doing, what you've done, and Lord, and what you're going to do. And when we look back on this day, Lord, I pray that we can look at it and say, you were in it, Lord, and God is good. I love you and I praise you. And Lord, help us to always do everything that we do for your glory and your purpose. In Jesus' name, amen. Y'all call. Wishes matter. Wishes can't wait.
933-8800, text WISH to 77,000. It's the Have a Heart Wish-a-thon for Make-A-Wish with KAIT and the Jonesboro Radio Group. Thanks, Cliff.
Thank you.